will now play Washington next Monday instead of Sunday, while the Ravens will host the Cowboys a day later on Tuesday, December 8th. As for the 49ers, they must play their next 2 home games outside of Santa Clara County, and they'll play those games in Glendale, Arizona. NFL insider Diana Rossini joining us now with much more on the Ravens-Steelers matchup. And Baltimore is on the outside of the AFC playoff picture. Reigning MVP Lamar Jackson will be out tomorrow afternoon. What more can you tell us on who might be available for this team against the Steelers?
Well, let's start with who's going to be at quarterback. It's going to be RG3. At wide receiver, you're going to see Des Bryant. So it's going to feel a little bit like 2012 when you're watching that game tomorrow afternoon. But it's really been a whirlwind of a few days here, and finally some really good news for Baltimore. No positive COVID-19 tests came back after they were tested earlier this morning. They got the results just about a half an hour ago, and I was told from a few sources within the organization that they are actually headed to the airport as we speak. So they will take off around 7:10, land in Pittsburgh tonight, and of course play tomorrow afternoon. And good news for them as well is they're going to have their running backs back. Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, they're back. They were quarantining for the last 10 days, and they are back on the active roster. So really good news for the Ravens, despite the fact that they're not going to have their starting quarterback. They are going to try to figure out a way to make this work against the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, who have been patiently waiting to face their rivals at home.
Yeah, changing their schedule as well. The Steelers held their usual Saturday walkthrough on Monday morning, held a light walkthrough this morning. Diana Rossini, Ravens Steelers tomorrow afternoon. Sage?
How about tonight? What to watch for? 7:30 Eastern. It's the State Farm Champions Classic here on ESPN. First, number 8, Michigan State heads to Cameron to take on number 6, Duke. Then at 9:30 from Indianapolis, number 20, Kentucky versus number 7, those Kansas Jayhawks. Back to Michigan State, head coach Tom Izzo, who just got over COVID-19. He was on Get Up today, and he talked about how he thinks this season will look.
It's going to be about survival, as we're learning in the NFL. And, you know, the NBA kind of helped us as far as learning how to sacrifice. And I think that's what we all have to do this year. It's not the norm. It's going to be different. You guys have a different situation there. We have a different situation. If you want to play the game, you got to adhere to the protocol. And I think he who handles the protocol the best. And like us, we're talking about playing more guys because we're preparing for losing a guy or two down the road. It's just the nature of the beast this year. And yet it can be done if everybody works together.
And Jay Billis joins us live from Cameron Indoor Stadium as we get set for this early top 10 matchup, number 6 Duke versus number 8 Michigan State. And 2 perennial powerhouses, Jay, obviously. But without those Cameron Crazies tonight, and for the entire season, they're not going to be there. I'm sure, Jay, it already feels different, strange in there. What are you expecting tonight?
Well, it's going to feel different, Sage, without the Cameron Crazies here. There's going to be a difference in energy in the building, and that means the players are going to have to bring their own energy and create their own energy, and that's going to be an advantage to an older team. And it's also going to feel different when there are momentum runs. The momentum runs aren't going to feel as big, even though they will be just as big. But looking on the positive side, it was a lot easier to park around Cameron Indoor Stadium tonight. So we'll take that as a good thing.
Yes, priorities, of course. And different feel. NBA, hard to adjust, but certainly in college, certainly there at Duke. Gone to the NBA are veteran stars Duke's Trey Jones and the Spartans' Cassius Winston. So, Jay, give us a player from each team that you will be watching tonight.
Well, starting with Duke, their freshman Jalen Johnson, who is just a skilled player that can really pass the ball, had 19 points and 19 rebounds in his Duke debut against Coppin State. And Tom Izzo likened him to a mini Magic Johnson. That's how much he thinks of his vision, his ability to pass the ball. And for Michigan State, Aaron Henry is a junior now. The left-hander is an outstanding defender. He's very athletic, can get out in transition, a much improved jump shooter. And Tom Izzo and his staff have been pushing him to get to the free throw line, to put the ball on the deck more. I think how Aaron Henry plays is going to go a long way to determining whether Michigan State wins in this building.
Love his energy that we're seeing there on the court as they warm up. How about this stat? Coach K, 12-2 all-time against Tom Izzo, and has never lost to him in the regular season. Maybe a little surprising to some, maybe not. Jay Billis on the game tonight. Thank you. Enjoy.
What to watch for is brought to you by the 2020 Jimmy V Men's Classic, presented by Corona Beer, proud supporter of the V Foundation.
And there is the countdown of the college football playoff rankings, second release. We are less than 25 minutes away here on ESPN Top of the Hour. Kirk Herbstreit has the same top 4 teams in mind that the playoff committee listed last week, but his 5th and 6th teams are not the same. Herbie likes Florida as the 5th best team, Cincinnati as the 6th best team. Texas A&M and Florida were 5 and 6 in the CFP rankings last week. Kirk Herbstreit joining us now with much more on this. So no one lost in the top 7 this past weekend, but with Ohio State and Cincinnati getting their games canceled on Saturday, how do you think that could factor into tonight's rankings, starting with the Buckeyes who've only played 4 games so far, Herbie?
Yeah, I don't think it plays into it yet. And I think big news today out of Columbus that they went back and started to practice with the hopes of playing at East Lansing. So that's a very different tune than where things were last Friday night and Saturday morning when we were speculating about, man, is Ohio State going to end up with 4 games? What will that do? Maybe 5 games if they're lucky. And so the fact that looks like they're going to do the best that they can, depending on the test the rest of the week to try to play, I think is huge. As far as the rankings now, I personally would be very surprised if they slipped out of the top 4 at this point. I think if that eventually happens, if they were to win games, I think it would happen down the road where they just don't have enough games played. But for now, I think everybody would agree that the Buckeyes are still secure up in the top 4.
Last Tuesday in the initial release, the biggest topic was BYU coming in at 14. There's going to be one big discussion, right? What are you most looking forward to seeing tonight with this second release?
I think that's it. I mean, the committee had their reasoning behind BYU, but the reaction, not only with our crew, but I think nationwide, was what? How in the world is BYU at 14? Coaches poll has them at 8. The AP poll has them at 8. I think everybody who's watched them play realizes 8 might be low. This is a team that, to me, is, I know you want to get caught up in who they have played, but maybe who they have not played, but they had a very different schedule pre-COVID to what they were able to put together on the back end. They're fortunate to at least be able to go out and play games. But if you watch this team play and the style in which they do that with a great quarterback and a physical team, I'm anxious to see, is the committee going to stick to their guns? And because not a lot really happened up ahead of them, are they still going to be in the teens? Or are they going to move up into the top 10 where I think a lot of us think they should be?
I hope they do. I hope they move inside the top 10, and then there's going to be people say, well, they didn't even play, and they moved up. But this is a very fluid situation. Let's see how it plays out. Kirk Herbstreit getting ready for tonight's second release of the playoff rankings, top of the hour.
Still ahead, the Monday Night Football fallout in Philly. Very latest on the futures of Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson as the Eagles' struggles continue. We got new comments from them ahead. And with new details surrounding Kemba Walker's status for the start of the season, we take you inside the Celtics' level of concern over the uncertainty of the knee in their star guard.
Sports Center is brought to you by